Oh, you're silent. Why are you silent? I think you're silent. I can't hear you. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I might have accidentally pushed the button. Okay. So we talked a little bit about age appropriateness yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, I think before the sound went out, that the person that's the most sexual in the book is probably Nurse Cratchit, but she doesn't have any sex. She's just deviant.
Like repression.
Yeah.
Deviant.
Yeah. Just using her power to rape everybody in the book.
Yeah. To emotionally rape. Yeah.
Yeah. She emotionally
and
raped.
You really get that. One of the first scenes where she's like going around the room and making them confess all their sins to her, and that's just, oh, yeah, so hard. Yeah, I think emotional intensity.
And why would we pick a book that shows how witchy women can be for that first book? And for me, it's because I don't think. Go ahead.
Because nobody's having that conversation, and I think it's like, and it's an uncomfortable conversation nobody's willing to have. And for me, it's one of those things like, okay, seems like there's enough people talking about in the environment and gun control and politics and all these things, but there's nobody talking about this issue in our culture, which is the abuse of masculinity.
The abuse, complete abuse of masculinity at every level without using physical force. Because we talk about how men will overpower women. And we're not talking about how women overpower men emotionally. And that's what she does. That's her.
I might not make it for lunch, but I'll swing by.
She's got a knock on the door.
I got a knock on the door.
You got a knock on the door. Yeah, and it's that nobody is having that conversation. And I don't know if I want to use the B word while we're recording, but she is the B word. She's the woman that we don't want to recognize in today's society.
Yeah. And the one that we actually give power to and put in positions
of
control. Because I was actually writing down all of her characteristics, like, and one of the first things she says to McMurphy is everyone must follow the rules.
Beautifully played by Jack Nicholson.
It made me think of this out of Africa. Yeah. Anyway,
he's great.
Going with that. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but
I don't know if I will see it again because it's kind of like I've seen it. Okay, I'm done. I've read the book. I've seen the movie. Age appropriate. Well, how old should you be? And you talked a little bit about this yesterday.
Yeah. So I think age appropriate when you're judging a book is not based on necessarily that nobody should read this unless, but that it's not effective to read it when you're younger. Like, does that
like you should have had some, or at least one adult relationship of some kind. You should be, you should have been in the power play between
a man and a woman,
women, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
High school doesn't really do it. But every woman should read this before she marries anybody. Yeah. For age appropriateness, I would say it's more like
18 and over.
Event appropriate. When should you read this in your life for it to have an effect in your life? When you
So
have
another
not
question for
yet
judging.
turned into the witch in the relationship.
Yeah, but it is coming.
But it is coming. And we've been trained to be witches, which is really sad too.
Yeah.
Okay, cultural relevance. I mean, who's Nurse Ratched, and why does it matter? You know?
Yeah. I think cultural relevance is pretty high, simply because there's so many references to Nurse Ratched that are kind of subtle, and she kind of stands for the idea of like efficiency and tidiness and orderly, but making everything that doesn't fit in her world crazy. Like, so.
And is there another character like her in any literature that I think there are some subtle people,
Yeah.
women that you don't like, but there isn't anybody attacking men using every Freudian, what's the word I'm looking for? Freudian, like, dig and Freudian device that she can possibly use to destroy masculinity.
And there's no other character that is using all the acceptable ways to destroy masculinity of our culture, which is psychology.
True.
Like, and it's completely acceptable to act like that, to put men in an insane asylum and attack them. Nobody's defending them. Nobody's coming. Like, you could write a story about a woman being beat up, and then the story is going to play out the way it should. Like, oh, somebody comes in and saves her, and blah 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 blah. But there's nobody coming for these guys because it's
And
acceptable.
she attacks every single man in the book.
Oh yeah.
She's got the worker. She has her boss. She has her patients. There is nobody that is safe
No.
from her. And I think that's what makes this so powerful, is that she is effective at every level.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the line where it says adjusting the inside to show on the outside. So he uses like the first part of the book, the word adjusting, so much, like just adjust into this like efficient, tidy world. Anyway, I'll have to count how many times.
Well, and we have books that say, here the Catholic Church had this kind of power over people. Here, men had this kind of power, but we don't have this kind of book. We have women, Greek heroes, killing, we got the spider. We're going. We got, but we don't have anything that shows why they go to war for Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
And what kind of power is that? We don't have that. And so there's this, the sense that maybe women have always been this powerful and nobody just wrote about it because it wasn't fun to write about.
Yeah.
That's why women aren't in history.
And we're in this shift in our culture where masculinity is so demonized. How could somebody write it back? There's just no way, because they didn't have this discussion of demonizing all masculine traits, and calling them crazy. Yeah.
Just that unkindness. It's just fascinating. Yeah. So, and in this book is, and one thing that Aspen and I like to do is we like to compare all the books we've read all at one time.
Yeah.
So it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like this, and it's like this, but it's almost like every time we talk about this book, it's by itself. We don't even say, it's like this woman in Frankenstein, or it's Frankenstein, or it's, Martin Eden, or it's, Morris. We don't even do that. It's just that it's all by itself. It's all by itself because, yeah. Which is
there's really, I'm trying to think of even a character like McMurphy who's you could compare him to, and it's not. doesn't really exist.
So fascinating book.
Yeah.
And you can see,
Yeah,
I think something else we should talk about though is, can you see this movie without reading the book and get
no, because
what
the
you
movie
need
has
out of
nothing.
it? Because I think there are some, I don't know how many movies you can do that with, but this one is see the movie, it's good. But you're definitely
But
not going to get the depth.
yeah, and it really is not like the book at all. Like the nurse Ratched doesn't come across the way she does in the book. You don't get you don't get any of the hallucinations of the main character, which are really important for, like his views of society and what's happening. Yeah, I don't think you can just watch the movie.
Right, and I think that's an important conversation too, because some people go, how often have you said to somebody, you should read Princess Bride, it's the funniest book you've ever read, I've seen the movie. And you're just like, no, you should read Princess Bride, it'll be the funniest book you've ever read. But I've seen the movie. I saw the miniseries War and Peace, I don't need to touch it. So yeah, there we go. Is there anything else you want to say about the book before, except I think we've covered it pretty well. I think we've covered
as far as why you should read, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop the video because we're gonna try. This is the first time getting together, so we're gonna try seeing what this actually looks like, posting it where, when, how. So I'm gonna stop the video and then we'll move on. Okay, so I stopped the video. I liked it, loved it. I don't mind the interruptions. They don't bug me.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a big deal because I don't think the expectation